Okay, thank you. Okay, so it's saying we're live. We're just going to get everyone a few seconds to find us on Facebook. Everything out. Okay, well, hello everybody and welcome back to Reader's Warehouse Recommends, where we are live every Monday at 12 o'clock. My name is Thomas from Reader's Warehouse, and we are live on a Monday to talk about books and give you book recommendations. We alternate each week doing adult and children's titles, and today we are back talking about adult titles. Joining us today, we have two wonderful people from the publishing industry. We have Jaco Schuder from Jonathan Ball Publishers, and from Blue Weaver Sales and Marketing, we have Sine Rapol. So thank you so much for both for joining us today. How it's going to work, we're going to be doing 3 rounds of book recommendations, and each round, one of us will be highlighting a title for you. Each title we'll be mentioning in the comment section with the title, author, and link to our website. And at the end of today's round, we'll also have a blog post up on our website, www.readerswarehouse.co.za. With basically all the titles listed with the blog post for the 3rd of July 2023. And then right at the end, I'll just be highlighting our top 10 adult titles that have sold for the past 2 weeks at Reader's Warehouse. So we're going to start with round 1. So Jaco, over to you for your first title.
Okay. Right, so the first title I'd like to talk about is Endurance by Darrell Bristow Bovey. When the shipwreck of Endurance was discovered the 5th of March 2022, almost sort of more than 100 years after it sank, there was obviously sort of great excitement, and people sort of revisited this amazing story of Shackleton. He bought the ship in January 1914 for his sort of Antarctic expedition, but barely a year later, the ship was trapped in the pack ice off the coast of Antarctica, and it eventually sank in the Weddell Sea on the 21st of November 1915. Miraculously, all the men, by using the little sort of rescue ships attached to the ship, made it to safety on Elephant Island, and from there Shackleton then launched an expedition to try and find help. Him and his captain and a couple of men, and yes, you probably all know all the men survived this expedition, which is quite an amazing story. Darrell has always been fascinated with the story of Shackleton, because his father told him the story that he met Shackleton. But if you add up the years, it's completely impossible. His father seemed to have lost his mind a little bit, but be that as it may, this is the reason why Darrell has always been fascinated by the story of Endurance. Yeah, so he sort of went and did some research and literature, natural history, some personal memoirs. He looked at the diaries of the men who survived to get a better sense of how they managed to survive this sort of ordeal. And to this day, this is still a story that celebrates the human spirit and our sort of will to survive. And yes, Shackleton is also still regarded as one of the sort of top leaders if you look at how he sort of managed his men and managed this crisis. So this little book, I think, is the perfect way to introduce this story to a new generation. And Darrell will be doing some events for us also. So please look out in the media of the next couple of days. I think of the 12th and the 14th, he'll be doing events in Cape Town. So see if you can make it to any of these events.
Yeah, I have to say, I know Darrell's written a lot of books in the past. He's done a lot of like short stories on like wildlife and things like that. So he's very well known for his very good writing, you know. So you can definitely I'm sure people will definitely enjoy his take on, the story.
Yeah, it's just going to be a brilliant introduction for a new generation.
Perfect. And I remember when they found that boat, it was like headline news. So I think people are still very much interested in the whole discovery.
Yeah, and I think with the Titanic story now as well, there's even more interest in what happens under the oceans.
Yeah, perfect, wonderful. All right, thanks, Yaku, for that. All right, Sine, over to you for your first title.
Hey, thank you, Thomas. Okay, so first up today, there we go. We have a cookbook titled Kanisa, a culinary storyteller by Kanisa Malabi. So Kanisa is a local chef and food stylist, and this is her cookbook that she recently launched, and it is absolutely beautiful. It has stunning photography, and she focuses on modern and approachable takes on African cuisine. So it is definitely the food we all know and love, but a bit modernized and brought into today's sort of culinary space. Like I said, it has beautiful photography. And in addition to the recipes, it also tells the story of how she learned to cook from her mother and grandmother, and how since she was a young girl, food has been such a big part of her life, which I think a lot of people will be able to relate to growing up in South Africa. So you really feel her passion for cooking and storytelling throughout this book. It really shines through. So it's also a journey, hence the title, and not just your typical cookbook with recipes. So yeah, this would be a beautiful gift as well for anybody who wants to expand what they can do in the kitchen as well. So yeah, so we are very excited about this one.
Perfect, wonderful. It's always nice to get new local cookery books, and so yeah, this is fantastic. And this also is available right now, so
yes,
we have it in stock. Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Sinead. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly highlight a title. One title I also wanted to mention was this title that's been listed as one of like the big books of the year. This author, Rebecca K. Kwong, she did a book last year called Babel that sold very, very well. And then Yaku used to sell a series of books from her called Poppy's War. There also was a big book club, not a book club, a book talk title. And this one, Yellowface, is her first dip into thriller writing. And this follows two friends who are kind of not best friends, but two friends that are authors. Their name is Anitha and June. And what happens is June is a debut author that doesn't have a great hit of a book, and Anitha is a literacy darling that everyone has loved. She's a best-selling author. And one day, Anitha, one of her books is picked up by Netflix to be made into a movie or TV series, and the two of them celebrate by making like pancakes or flapjacks one evening, and by accident, Anitha chokes to death, and June tries to like save her, climate maneuver and all the different things, doesn't work, and Anitha passes away. But before she has passed away, Anitha told June about an amazing book that she had written, her magnus opus, an amazing story set in a time where I think it is where Japanese soldiers helped the British in World War II. It's like an untold story that now she's written, and it's said to be this amazing story. And what happens is after the police and the hospital and the doctors, at the end of the first chapter, June has the manuscript of Anitha's in her bag. And the story basically follows how June takes this book or this manuscript, submits it to her agent, and becomes an international best-selling author thanks to this book. And basically, this book is told in first person. So the whole time you're reading the book, you are in June's mind, and you're seeing what she's doing and what she's experiencing. And it is a thriller. What starts happening is that people start questioning this book, questioning her. How could she write this type of book? And then one day, someone on Twitter comments and says to her, "Wait a minute, this book is not your book. It actually is Anthea's book." Anitha's book, sorry. And so, and then of course, June's not sure who this person is, what is going on. And yeah, so it basically, got dark humor. It's very topical. It deals with this thing with cancel culture that we're dealing with at the moment. It's a great thriller, keeps you pacing. There's like 3 acts basically in this book, and each of them leads to this big like reveal or payoff, as they say. So yeah, so this book is out now. Yellowface by Rebecca K. Kwong, and if you've never read her books before, as it's a first thriller, it's worth taking a look at. Okay, that's my title. All right, Yaku, over to you for your second title.
Okay, my second title, oops, just find my little arrow there. My second title is the new thriller or horror story by Sam Beck-Bessinger and Dale Hovenson. So the story is set around three girls who grow up in this small little village somewhere in America called Little Hope. Needless to say, they are teenagers. It's a small town, so they are a little bit bored. So what they decide to do is do some amateur sleuthing to investigate some of the interesting sort of mysteries in this town. There is rumors of this abandoned lost gold mine, and there's also the mystery of why young Ronnie tried to burn his parents alive. So all of these sort of stories leads them into the woods where they discover this cave which they enter. The three girls enter, but only two of them emerge alive. And so needless to say, the police is now busy investigating this story. And they feel, the two that survived, Ray and Donna, feel obliged to return to this cave, but in the cave is a sort of shattering secret, and whoever sort of encounters this is bound to never be the same again. Sam is the author of our best-selling title, Manage Your Money, and Dale is a well-respected book cover designer. He actually designs the book jackets for Lauren Beekes. And Sam describes this book as classic nostalgic horror with lots of 90s references, and fans of Stranger Things and The Thing will definitely sort of find this read appealing. The readers are absolutely loving it. The reviews are excellent. One of the reviewers says it's actually quite strange to be describing this book as unsettling, but yet also sort of heartwarming. So this is being described as a full throttle horror with a heart of gold.
Oh, wow, what a line there. That sounds fantastic. Yeah, very exciting to see how this goes, and hopefully people love it that Sam will be writing another book.
Yeah. She's multi-talented. She can write about finance and where to travel, and now trying a bit of horror fiction as well.
Yeah, wonderful. And I know she's very good friends with Lauren Beekes, so you never know, maybe she gave some tips to her. So
yeah.
All right, perfect. Thanks so much, Jaco. Okay, Sine, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Thomas. So I have a very exciting local title next. From Aisling McCarthy, we have Leopard in the Lala. This is her follow-up to her first book, Down at Jika Jika Tavern. And these are the beginning of what is going to be the Poacher's Moon crime series. So it's a work of local fiction set in KwaZulu-Natal. And we follow our main character from the first book, Nontle. And she discovers that in addition to the rhino populations, the leopard population is also under attack from poachers. So their skins are worn with pride as a symbol of power and royalty across Africa. And farmers are also destroying the leopards that threaten their livestock, and even big game hunters offer illegal hunts to paying guests. We know the wildlife tourism industry is very big, and it has a dark side as well. And that is what is being explored in Leopard in the Lala. So when a university acquaintance of Nontle unexpectedly arrives back in her life, she finds herself involved in a case that brings the past roaring back to the present. So it's a very gripping read. It's sure to be a page turner. And yeah, we love supporting our local authors. So we are very excited about this one. And in addition to Leopard in the Lala, which has a stunning cover, the cover for Jika Jika has also been redesigned to fit into the series. So yeah, we are very excited to see what Aisling brings out next.
Yeah, it looks amazing. And this is perfect, I guess, for fans of like Alexander McCall Smith or Sally Andrews, things like that. This is like just right up there to give it a go.
Yes, exactly. And anybody interested in conservation and what's going on in the wildlife industry locally would also find this very interesting.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks, Sine. That's fantastic. All right, let me just quickly share my page for my next title. So the next title I just wanted to mention, we got in this week now, is the new Leslie Pierce. Really a name that many people will know from book clubs or women's fiction. You know, Leslie Pierce is known to be a great storyteller. She's toured South Africa multiple times. And so this is her latest title. She also is the author that doesn't shy away from hard-hitting subjects. And in this one, there's a lot of like subject matter, like almost like trigger warnings on things to deal with, like alcoholism, abuse, suicide. There's all featured in this latest title. And this book follows a character called Eve Hathaway, who leaves her husband and takes her 2 children with her. And then basically she had been in an abusive relationship with her husband, Don. And of course, Don wants her back. And then one day, eventually she gets the family home back, but Don's not happy with that, and Don still wants her back. And then basically she has to teach him a lesson. That's what the book says. And then Eve has to deal with those consequences after that. And so the book follows on like what you would do for your family. You know, it follows Eve's journey. And as always, Leslie Pierce, you know, is known to write incredible characters. The reviews for this book says the side characters are also very well developed. And yeah, it's fantastic to always have a new Leslie Pierce. And so this new one, Betrayal, is now out at Reader's Warehouse. Okay, so now we're on to the final round. So Jaco, over to you for your final book.
Okay, my final title I would just like to talk about is The Ghost Theatre by Matt Osman. This is a reimagining, a punk reimagining of Elizabethan London. And on the rooftops of London, 2 worlds collide. There's Shay, she's a messenger girl, a fortune teller and a trainer of hawks, and she can also predict the future by looking at the patterns of birds. And there on the rooftops is where she meets this boy called Nonsuch. He's a famous child actor, but despite the fact that he's well known all across London, he's a poor boy who's a beggar as well. But Shay sort of falls in love with Nonsuch, and the 2 of them then decide to start this little theatre group, the Ghost Theatre, and together they stage these sort of magical shows all across London, hallucinating plays that apparently sort of excites a bit of a rebellion amongst the sort of city's outcasts. Needless to say, all of this gets to the attention of the Queen, who then actually eventually invites them to come and perform at the court. So now it would appear that they've sort of really made it, but this court is obviously full of dark mystery and deceit. And as you know, if we fly too high, the fall is definitely bound to come. So this book has been described as a fever-pitch dream full of prophecy and anarchy, gutter rats and bird gods, and it's a story that charts the rise and dramatic destruction of a dream born from love but torn apart by betrayal. So yeah, it's got all the sort of fantasy elements for people who are into this kind of stuff. Yes, you probably guessed, Matt Osman is the brother of the famous Richard Osman. And for an extra quiz point, did you know that he's also the bassist for the band Suede? So I think with all of this backing behind him, this book should definitely get some attention.
Yeah, I still think the cover looks amazing. I think the finished copy as well, it looks really beautiful, very magical. And I was saying to Jaco, in the past, I've seen this book on social media being posted quite often, so it's definitely getting a lot of you know, good hype. I think people have really been enjoying it, so it's definitely something to consider as your next book club pick for sure. Yeah,
quite different to his brother's writing, but I think he's definitely got his own niche.
Perfect, wonderful. Thanks, Jaco. All right, Sine, over to you for your final book.
Hey, thank you. So last up today, something a little bit different. We have Uncomplicated Love by Shelley Lewin. So Shelley is known in the industry as the relationship architect. And this book is a guide to taking the complicated out of your love life, which I think a lot of us can relate to. So Shelley offers a method for building resilient love that will last and to avoid falling into dysfunctional relationships. So she teaches us that people are complicated, but relationships don't have to be. And that a healthy love is an emergence of 3 different dimensions: the art of people pairing, the science of attachment, and the best practices of partnership give you the opportunity to choose an extraordinary love life. So this book is very empowering. It really gives you the tools to really go into new relationships with ease, or take those any roadblocks out of your current relationship. Shelley is very highly regarded in the field. She helps so many people every year. Yeah, so we hope everybody will find something that will help them in their relationships as well.
Okay, wonderful. Great. Thanks so much, Sine. All right, so I'm just going to quickly just mention my last title. Following after Leslie Pierce, it's just another big powerhouse author that we have coming in this week is the new standalone novel from Nora Roberts. You know, most book clubs might have read her. Identity is her latest standalone. Some people only read her standalone novels and they wait for the new one every year. And this is the one now that is just about to come out. I think it's arrived in our Joburg stores and will be in our Cape Town stores and our website this week. What I've seen with the reviews for this book is that some of the people who have read Nora Roberts, the fans for many years, have said this is like the fantastic book to be the first one to read if you've never read it before. This is a book, if you read Nora Roberts, you'll want to go back and read all over others or start reading others. Some people have mentioned this is the perfect, like one in their top 5 best Nora Roberts standalone novels. They mentioned some of the really old ones and saying how fantastic this one reminds them of that. So yeah, that's a great, nice thing that I picked up. So if you've never read Nora Roberts before, this is actually one to definitely try and actually see why people have loved her writing style. This, of course, features romance, it features murder, it features family dynamics, a small town, all those little things that Nora Roberts is known for. People love reading about her books. And this story features a female character lead called Morgan Albright. And she wants to own her own bar, but at the moment she's just working in one. And something happens to her. She gets attacked, and from that she leaves where she's staying and moves and goes back home to the small town where she comes from. And she's hoping that the problem that she experienced won't follow her, but sometimes things like that do follow you. And of course, that normally happens in a Nora Roberts novel. But yeah, the setting, how Nora Roberts writes, the location and the place. You know, it just takes you right there. And like I said, people are raving about this one. And Nora Roberts fans are very strong, you know, and have been asking us for this book. So we're really happy that it's finally arrived and it's here. And so if you're looking for it, we have it now in our stores. Identity by Nora Roberts. Okay, so that is that. I was going to quickly just share our top 10 titles for the past 2 weeks of Reader's Warehouse for everybody. So let me just share that file. Okay. So what I noticed now was in the top 10, a lot of the top the 10 to 6 titles are all mostly romance titles besides the new Karen Slaughter. So these are all big TikTok authors as well. But we have the Colleen Hoover at number 10, the latest Emily Henry at number 9, the latest Ali Hazelwood at number 7. Then, as I mentioned, the latest Karen Slaughter World Trend novel After That Night, and then Anna Grace's Icebreaker at number 6. And then going into our top 5, our 5th best-selling book for the past 2 weeks has been Jo Nesbø's Killing Moon. And number 4 is the Honor Narrator's Eskom book, to Power. And number 3 is the Abraham Verghese title, The Covenant of Water, the author of the Cutting of Stone. Number 2 is the Lucinda Riley, Harry Whitaker's The Seven Sisters 8th book in the series, Atlas. And then number 1 is the current new Kristen Hannah title, Another Life. That is our number 1 bestseller. So that is it for this week. Thank you to Sune and Yaku for joining me. We hope we gave you some great titles to pick when you visit Reader's Warehouse or visit our website next. We'll be back next week to talk about children's books. But till then, keep well, everybody, and happy reading. Thank you so much. Bye, guys.
Thank you, Thomas.
Cheers, Yaku. Bye, Sune.
Cheers. Bye-bye.